Doom.
Come on, boy. Let's play.
Yeah, let's play.
Doom Eternal just came out. Perhaps you've seen the ads everywhere. Even after finishing the game, I just can't get away from it. It's either this or play through the Borderlands 3 DLC, and I can't voluntarily subjugate myself to more of that. I'm in it though. If I have to spend another 5 minutes listening to Ava during a cutscene, I'm just gonna lose my mind. The game takes a minute to get going. There is no starter pistol in the game like Doom 2016, likely due to the infinite ammo that it uses. Ammo management has become more prevalent in this game over previous iterations. When you start the game, you carry only a handful of shells, and you also only have access to a couple of weapons early on. As frustrating as this is near the beginning, I later found it necessary to introduce this new feature early, as balancing different ammo is much of a core mechanic in the game as the shooting is. Each enemy has a specific way of fighting them, and they have a specific vulnerability to certain weapons. For the Arachnotrons, for example, you will want to use the sticky bombs attachment on your shotgun to target the turret and use the ice bomb and grenades to finish them off. Blood punches help too. Blood punches are another new addition to the game. By performing glory kills, you build up the blood punch meter. Certain enemies later on in the game, like Cyber Mancubus, requires the use of blood punch in order to take them down, to remove their armor. Maybe it's not required, but remember, ammo conservation is an important mechanic in this game, and you will find yourself looking for a fodder demon to use the chainsaw on throughout most firefights. My issue with the blood punch is this: it's not really clear where you can use the blood punch versus going for a glory kill. I found myself using my blood punch when I meant to go for a glory kill, and vice versa. This is probably another instance of me needing to get better at the game, but this issue carried on until the end of the game. As someone who has been playing shooters their entire life, I figured I was good to go, starting my first playthrough on ultraviolence. I managed to finish the game without turning the difficulty down, but in retrospect I would advise people to start on Hurt Me Plenty, the difficulty setting for normal. Doom Eternal, while it borrows a lot from Doom 2016, is an entirely new beast. It took a while, a lot of trial and error, but finally, I was able to make consistent progress in the game. Once I stopped trying to conserve ammo and became less shy about using the chainsaw, figured out how to properly utilize the blood punch, and of course, learned to utilize the flame belch. I was on better track at that point. That's another thing. In this game, enemies that are on fire drop armor. You can combine ice bomb, grenades, and flame belch to get lots of armor in a pinch during a firefight. This is something that you will need to learn if you want to play on the harder difficulties. There is also platforming in the game. I was not impressed with it. It's implemented decent enough, but I find them annoying. Remember, always look for the green lights if you get lost. I found it frustrating for so much of the game to feature swinging from monkey bars and climbing on walls, but the gunplay is good enough that it is worth putting up with. The story is fine. I preferred the way the story was told in Doom 2016 without cutscenes. Well, there were cutscenes, but at no point in Doom 2016 did the viewpoint zoom out from Doomguy's perspective and portray him in the third person. There's also a part early on where Doomguy kneels to a hologram, and I'm sure there's a reason for it for the lore, but I didn't care for it. If there's one thing I never wanted to see, it is Doomguy bending the knee, to a hologram no less. It doesn't ruin the game for me in any way, but I preferred it when there was a little more left to my imagination. I liked it when Doomguy was just an angry space marine rather than a godlike figure, and he is literally interpreted in audio logs found in the game as a god. The boss fights were good. I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that earlier bosses spawn later in the game as regular enemies, and considering how much thought has to go into approaching each of them alongside the other enemies and trying to juggle health management through glory kills, blood punch, armor from flame belch, ammo from your chainsaw, and gas for your chainsaw, it's all a bit to keep in mind when you're also running around playing Doom. Maybe it's because I just played Doom 64 for the first time, and I felt like I had an entirely different experience. Doom 64 is really good, by the way, and I'm not going to say that it's better than Doom Eternal, but I enjoyed it more as a shooter than I did with Doom Eternal, simply on the basis of being able to relax and shoot some stuff. At the same time, the complexity did add a lot to the gameplay. Take the Doom Hunter, for instance. It's a tank demon that fires missiles, requiring the plasma gun in order to make him vulnerable. What's more notable is the Marauder, an enemy that requires approaching like a Dark Souls enemy rather than an enemy from a Doom game. The Marauder is sort of a mirror opposite of Doomguy. a former Knight Sentinel that decided to fight for the Maker army. This is a difficult enemy to fight against, but once you figure out the proper distance you need to keep from him in order to provoke the attack that makes him vulnerable, you're good. Although his flaming tiger companion is a little irritating. The Marauder will bring up a shield if you try to shoot him. He is resistant to the BFG, although not entirely immune to it. If you have infinite ammo, you can definitely spam it enough to get him with it. What you have to do is wait for him to rush you with a physical attack, his eyes flash green, and then you can shoot him. He can use a shotgun if you're too close, he'll send out projectiles if you're too far away. Once you've dealt with him enough times, he becomes less of an issue, but a firefight is always more intense when you're running around looking for health and ammo or armor, and he's constantly spamming attacks. It makes every arena battle that he is in way more intense. At first I didn't like it, and then later on in the game, once I figured out how to deal with him, now I really enjoy running into him. I don't want to spoil the end boss for anyone, but I was impressed with the way that they implemented things from previous games, as well as incorporating all of the game mechanics all in one fight. It was a breath of fresh air that the final boss actually required me to utilize all of the knowledge for all of the game mechanics that I've picked up over the course of the game. There is a good amount of collectibles in the game as well. You have toys, vinyl records, cheat codes that you can use to replay earlier missions. There are Sentinel crystals, which increase armor, health, and ammo capacity, and grant extra abilities that are important to have later on in the game. You earn weapon upgrade points from arena battles, and you can pick up mastery tokens in the last few levels if you haven't finished upgrading your weapons yet. Predator suit upgrades make a return as well, and all of these are essential in becoming powerful enough to take on the waves you'll see throughout the game. There is also a hub world of sorts. Doomguy has a castle floating in outer space where you can unlock skins, tokens, weapons mods by inserting Sentinel batteries that are earned by doing challenges for each mission. You can also find them throughout the levels. There is a weekly reward and experience system to unlock skins and things for online play, but I didn't get much in my playthrough. I also haven't played the multiplayer yet, so I can't speak for that at all. I can say that I leveled up, I think, 12 times, and at the end of the game, I had like 2 weapon skins. After you finish the game, there are master levels that they say they will add to over time. There are 2 unlocked for me at the moment. One came as a pre-order bonus. The Cultist base, the one that came as a pre-order bonus, I did play through, and I rather liked it. It felt like the entire game was gearing you up to be prepared to take on larger waves of enemies with all of the weapons and everything upgraded, so it's nice to have incentivization to go back and play some of these older levels with all of your gear. Also, it was cool to fight all of the cyber demons, now called tyrants, that are featured later on in the game in the very first level. It also gives you an excuse to use the gun you unlock at the end of the game if you did the optional Slayer Gates. Slayer Gates are the only thing you can't complete with cheats enabled, unlike the collectibles. Slayer Gates feature difficult firefights, featuring the more difficult demons earlier than they appear naturally in the game. The last 2 are pretty hard, but at that point you should have the strategies for each enemy down. If you complete each Slayer Gate and collect each key, then you can unlock spoiler, big spoiler. Alright, I'll give you a few more seconds to click away or to mute if you don't want to have this spoiled for you. If you complete each Slayer Gate and collect each key, you can unlock the Unmaker, a weapon that was previously exclusive to Doom 64. The weapon shares ammo with the BFG, so it is difficult to decide which one you would want to use. 60 shots with the Unmaker is 2 shots with the BFG. However, playing through the levels with infinite ammo make the game pretty fun, I have to say. The cheats make the game worth playing through again, if only to get the missing collectibles. With all of that in mind, Doom was pretty good. I preferred Doom 2016, but Doom Eternal was pretty good. I think it had a good amount of replayability, and if there are new maps, I will definitely play through them. The game was irritating before I knew how the game wanted me to play, but once it finally clicked, swinging from enemies with a flaming grappling hook strapped to a super shotgun, at that point I started having a good time. One nitpick that I had, there is infighting. You will find throughout the game demons fighting one another, but they will not take down one another's health. They're invincible to one another's attacks. Other than that, this is a very solid shooter. Is it a good Doom game? I guess it depends on the person playing it. For me, I had more fun playing Doom 64 for the first time. But everyone's experience may vary depending on your experience and your preference in what types of video games you like. I did not like the wall climbing or the swinging on monkey bars, but that doesn't mean everyone won't. But overall, this was a fun experience. Would definitely recommend it. Oh, and another nitpick. So on top of the platforming, which I was not too impressed with, there are also swimming sections. Now, they don't last very long. They're very short, but there are swimming sections in my Doom game. There was also a purple goo that popped up maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the whole game. On top of this goo, you're not allowed to jump, and your mobility is thoroughly slowed down. It was just something in the game that felt incredibly unnecessary and added nothing at all to the gameplay.
Gotcha. huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.